So a few days ago, something different showed up, something I wasn't actually expecting. And when I first saw the box, I thought it might have been this watch I ordered from AliExpress, but it wasn't. It was something entirely different. And let me show you what this is, just so you have an idea what I'm talking about. So when I opened the box and saw this, my first thought was who, and more importantly, why is this here? And equally importantly, is this something I agreed to? And if I did, was I drunk when I did it? Or was this something that someone just sent me without asking first, which has happened before? And to be honest, there have been a few occasions where I've completely forgotten something was coming. Usually that's when they ask me if I want to do a review, then there's some sort of delay, and then like 8 months, the thing just shows up. But I didn't think that was the case because I think I would have remembered this thing. So I spent about 20 minutes just kind of going through my emails, trying to figure out, why this was here. And after about 20 minutes, it finally dawned on me that this was my fault. I did this unintentionally with Watch Gang. It kind of all came back to me. You see, a few weeks ago, I was on vacation and just kind of came back from hanging out at the pool. And I saw an email from Watch Gang talking about some sort of birthday mystery grab bag where you didn't know exactly what was going to come. And at the time, it seemed like a good idea. I mean, what was the worst that could happen? Well, Neubo Happened. And this is a big boy. This is 48 millimeters wide, 20 millimeters thick, and just a beast of a watch. I mean, just picking this thing up, it has this huge, heavy feel to it. But at least it has sapphire, a Seiko movement, nice bracelet, and a milled clasp, all for a retail price of $9.95. Yeah. But as much as I'm tempted to, I'm not really here to trash the watch. I mean, for one thing, it's kind of low-hanging fruit. And two, everyone has different tastes, and I'm sure there's someone out there who would actually love this watch. The problem is that I'm not that person. And I'm not that person in a big way. But more to the point, I think this watch really solidified my feelings about Watch Gang, and I thought it might make an interesting video for you guys to watch. Now, believe it or not, this is actually the 4th watch I've gotten from Watch Gang, so it's not all bad. And I think there are some occasions where it's actually worth it to get something from them. Just rare occasions. For me, the times to avoid them at all costs are situations like this. Situations where you have no idea what you're going to be getting. Which, to be blunt, is most of their business model. If you're not familiar with Watch Gang, they're basically a subscription service. You sign up for a particular price tier, and once a month they're going to send you something in that tier. Now, supposedly the watches are always going to be worth more than you pay for it, but the trick is you don't know what you're going to get until it actually arrives. Now, in full disclosure, I've never belonged or subscribed to their watch club, or any watch club for that matter. So maybe there is something I'm missing here. But it is something I've thought a lot about, especially really early in the channel. And I thought about it as both a collector and as someone running a watch review channel. As a collector, it might be kind of fun if you don't actually want anything specific, and you don't really care what shows up. But if there's something specific you're interested in, I think it's better to save your money and just get exactly what you want, rather than just wait and see what happens, which I think really is the prevailing argument online against subscription services. Now, back in the early days of the channel, like under 1,000 subscribers early days, I thought really hard about using them as just a cheap way of getting watches to review. I'm not sure if anyone's really still doing this, but at the time there were a few channels who'd show off their Watch Gang watch every month. So it was something I was really interested in, but after thinking about it more and really looking into it, I realized that this was not the way. I realized that the only way Watch Gang could really do this is if people had no interest in these watches in the first place. That the only way they were able to buy them in bulk at a discount was if the brand was just trying to clear them out. And if no one really cared about them in the first place, then no one would be looking for reviews on them. And that was not going to be the way to grow a channel. Plus, looking at the resale value of what was being sent out, I realized that if I bought them just to review and then sold them, I'd lose money every time. Now, Watch Gang says that the amount you pay is less than the street value of the watch, and that may be true when you get it. But the thing is, if a bunch of people are all trying to unload them on eBay at the same time, that tends to drop the price. So the subscription service is bad, and avoid it like the plague. But there is another smaller side to Watch Gang. That's called the Wheel of Watches, which is what I've used and occasionally can be good. Basically, it's a virtual prize wheel, where you get to pick out what goes into that prize wheel from a selection of watches. Most of the slots on the prize wheel are going to be for watches that are close to what it costs to spin the wheel, but you can add a few watches that are much higher in value, including a couple of grails. Although the odds of getting those more expensive and grail tier watches aren't good, so don't delude yourself and start spinning this thing like it's a slot machine in Vegas. Keep it real. So with the wheel, you may not get exactly what you want, but you're at least going to get stuff that you're interested in. Although, once again, if there's something you're really dying to have, it is best just to save up for that, rather than get distracted by all the shiny baubles. Now, the watches available on the wheel are always changing, and honestly, most of the time I've looked at it, it's not worth doing. Most of the time I look, it's a bunch of brands I've never heard of, or if it is a brand I've heard of, it's a watch I've never heard of or ever seen before. So even if there's one or two watches that I think I'm interested in, I don't really think it's worth spending the money and risk getting something you absolutely don't care about. The only times I've really jumped in and used the wheel is when I can fill it with a majority of things that I'm actually interested in. And even then, I always try to check what the current street price of those watches are, just to make sure it's worth the money I'm risking. For example, the very first time I did this, they just happened to have a bunch of watches from NTH. And at the time, I was pretty interested in seeing one. In fact, I was pretty close to actually buying a watch directly off NTH's site. But I saw a couple of the ones I was interested in were available on the wheel, and the cost to spin it was a couple hundred less than the MSRP. So I gave it a shot, which is how I wound up getting that NTH Tacuna I reviewed a while ago. Now, the second time I did it, they just happened to have a Laco only wheel, so I loaded it up with a bunch of Fliegers and let it fly. And ironically, the one I got was not a Flieger. This is the Laco Azure, a cool 40mm minimalist dress watch with a Miyota 9015, which so far I have not got around to reviewing, mostly because it is kind of a pain to film. The dial is really reflective, and those really thin stick hands just kind of get lost in it. So if this is something that you're interested in seeing more of, do mention that down below, otherwise I might just kind of move on from this one. Now, more recently, they happen to have another Laco only wheel, and this time I did get a Flieger. So this is the 39mm Nepal, and hopefully I will get around to reviewing this one soon, hopefully before the end of the year. So in all three of those instances, I was pretty happy with the results, saved a little bit of money, and under similar circumstances, I would do it again. Now, where things went wrong this last time was that it was a special birthday mystery bag wheel, and you had no idea what was going to be on it. And I should have known better. But like I said, I just come back from the pool, might have had a couple of drinks, and at the time, it seemed like a good idea. And as a result, I got Neubo'd. And trust me, nobody wants to get Neubo'd. So most of the time it is worth avoiding, but there are some instances with the wheel that Watch Gang is worth it. You just have to be smart about it and patient about when to use it. But what do you guys think about Watch Gang and subscription services in general? Let me know down below. And especially if you've actually been a part of one and were happy with it. Maybe there's something I'm completely missing. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Shane, this is Relative Time. See you next time.